Hello, everyone, and welcome to another elite episode of the Get Authentic with Marques show. I'm your host, Marques Ogden. On today's episode, we are joined by Mr. Andre Lewis. But before we bring up Andre to the stage, I want to thank one of our amazing sponsors. We want to thank NeuroGuard Plus. Dr. Michael Hutchinson has created an awesome mouth guard to help you increase stamina, increase strength, and reduce the possibility of getting concussions while playing contact sports. We thank NeuroGuard Plus for sponsoring this episode. Now, here he is, Andre. How you doing, Andre?
Hey, good morning, Marcus. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, my friend. First question, Andre, what does the word authentic/authenticity mean to you?
Being authentic, being true to oneself, and also I like to add being true to one's purpose. That's what authentic means to me.
I've heard being true to oneself many times by many great people, but I've never heard being true to one's purpose. I love that. Could you elaborate, my friend? Because again, we're very, very fortunate. People love our podcast. We're getting about 10,000 plus downloads per day. I mean, we're reaching a lot of people through organic and through cross referencing and through cross collaboration. It's amazing. So I want people to kind of hear about how to be true or and align with your purpose. Please elaborate.
Well, I give you the two examples. One is my purpose. My purpose is to change and save lives through literacy. So I take that as an opportunity to, when I create our books, to be authentic, to have representation of the characters to be representation of our society. The antithesis of that is sometimes what we see currently in our politics, where one people say one thing to get elected, but then they lose their purpose when they get into office and when it becomes about money and about power. So when I say be true to your purpose, for those this particular example, they're here to serve the people, but typically they start to serve themselves.
You know what? I love that. Serve people. Don't serve yourself. I have a tattoo on my right forearm, Andre. It says, when you attempt to help others for no personal gain, you reap life's greatest rewards. And that is so true. And that is so just phenomenal because I've gone through that. I've been there and been able to help others for no gain of my own, and life has blessed me with so much. So, Andre, talk a little more about yourself and the work you're doing to help really make people more literate and able to read and be more educated.
Well, Marcus, I'm originally from Columbus, Mississippi. My
Mm.
daddy was enlisted in the Air Force as an enlisted man. So I traveled all around the world as a young child. Eventually, I went on to the Air Force Academy. I have a degree in astronautical engineering with emphasis in propulsion and dynamics, which led me to go on to pilot training. And then I've served in the Air Force as a pilot for 9 years, flying out the C-141, which is an older airplane now. It's actually retired. So I'm just kind of letting you know my age. But in 1998, I became a pilot for Federal Express. I've been there for 27 years. Currently, I'm a captain on a Boeing 767 based out of Oakland, which I do primarily Asia flying. But my passion and my love is creating children's books. So I created my own publishing company called Literary Engineers, and we've done 26 books, seven of the books in the National Archives at the White House. I've been fortunate and humbled to receive a letter from the prior First Lady Michelle Obama for my services in that space. And then we have over 1 million children and families that have access to our work. We don't market. Our books are currently not on Amazon. My purpose for doing this was to give people and entities the opportunity to share what was important to educate, empower, and to encourage families with the subject matters that we cover, such things as having children believe in their dreams, speaking about oral hygiene, anti-bullying. We've done books on financial literacy. And one of our recent books we just did were called Life Tools, in which we're providing life coaching skill sets to middle school children that give them those give them that power to deal with things that they're facing now. And then our latest book is a book we call Supporting Your Future. All women's organization came to me to write their book for them. And we did this book to talk to young girls, primary to fifth to eighth grade, about these four core values of gender equality, education, diversity, and also we talked about the way to give them ideas of deal with like such things as like implicit bias, and so forth. So no, my whole purpose is to provide resources to our families and to our children, and to hopefully encourage them and provide resources to them to have a better life.
Andre, I really love this. So I'm going to get really granular here. So, you talked about what you're doing, but I want to get more specific because people that hear this awesome episode, I want them to know a few things about you and your mission, right? That's my first question. Andre, what is your exact mission? So, our mission with Get Authentic is to have authentic, raw, real conversations with amazing human beings to inspire our audience to push to new heights that they never dreamed possible. That's our mission because we're all about authenticity. We're all about realness. We're all about people who are like full of like emotion, raw, real things. So, what is the mission of your awesome organization?
So my mission is Literary Engineers provides literary resources to organizations, government agencies, and individuals in order to inspire and improve the community. That's my mission.
I love that. Love that. Now, so that's the mission. It's a fantastic one. So now there's the plan, right? So what I do is what we do, our plan is to record and meet and interview awesome people and then take their interviews, publish them onto our platform, distribute them to all the audio and video platforms out there to be able to help people get this content to better themselves. That's our plan. So that's what is the plan of you all achieving this mission? Because again, right, here's my thing, right, Andre? Mission is more from the emotion-driven perspective. And you've got plan, which is more from the logic-driven perspective. So what is the plan you all have to have this mission really become one that hits people on every level possible?
I think the best way to do that is to give you an example. So, for the city of Vallejo, California, I created a book for their local police department called Making It Better in Vallejo. For the last 5 years, every third grader in the city receives a presentation from the police department. Typically, between 4 to 8 officers go to every school to the third grade. They do the reading of the book, talk about safety tips for the kids, as well as their parents. And when they get done with the book, they sign the name and badge number into the book and tell the kids, if you ever get stopped by another officer, tell me one of my kids. And what we've seen with this project and this program is this way to improve the relationship between law enforcement and the community, but also for the officers, it has helped to tackle that implicit bias that some officers may have had when looking at certain demographics in our community as seeing them as kids, not as perps or criminals. So that is our actual practice of how one of our books is being used to help organizations. So we've done that for other organizations. For example, I wrote the National PAL Police Activity League. I wrote their national book. We've done books for
Oh,
Valero to talk about STEM programs, to get us associations with Boeing, Air Force Academy, Secretary of the Air Force Support. We did a book for California Alcohol Beverage Control, ABC agents, to help identify the TRACE program, which was meant to help officers identify who provided alcohol to underage children. So we work with MAD, SAD. So I work with other organizations that have some type of community outreach, something message they would like to give to our community. I give them a literary tool, which is a book, to help them translate that information to our community in a way that is more digestible and understood. And then by giving it to the children, it enables them to become their advocates to share that resource with their parents because our books are not just meant for the children, they're meant to be for the family.
I took note of something, right, Andre? You talk about how you're helping people and you're giving them books to kind of give them like what I call like the curriculum, to give them the blueprint to follow. And this is phenomenal because so many people need to understand, right, Andre, that it's all about helping people to see the dream, right? So I asked my question for you, right? When it comes to the work you're doing, right, Andre, what is the dream that you have? I know you want to do help people with like literacy, and I think that's phenomenal, but what's your big dream? So, for example, one of our big dreams is to become the number one podcast in the world. Now, it's big, it's audacious, but again, if you don't dream it, it can never come to fruition. That's what I believe. So, what's the dream that you have when it comes to the work you're doing with your brand?
With my brand, my dream is to be truly international with the work that we're doing. Currently, one of our books we called Excited to Serve that we did for service organizations, such as like Rotary and Kiwanis. The book is called Excited to Serve. That book has already been translated in 9 other languages. I've had the opportunity to give books out to children in Kenya. So my dream is having our books touch the lives of children around the world. And we're on our way to doing that.
Love that. So, ladies and gentlemen, you hear that? That's the dream, to help touch children all around the world. And this is the type of people, the type of episodes, the type of interviews that we love to bring to people because it's all about helping people to see that what they want, what they desire with hard work is possible. And that's my next question, Andre. Systems. So dreams is emotion, systems is logic. And I tell people, right? Systems create heroes. Systems make heroes because what happens is when the system is up and running, then that's when greatness is on the horizon. What systems are you all putting into place, right, Andre, to make this phenomenal, huge dream that I know you all can achieve come to life?
Well, once again, I'm about examples. So let me back up and tell you how this all became a part of what I do. When I was in 6th grade living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I was going to a gifted and talented school. When I was there, I would get into fights, had a little chip on my shoulder. And fortunately for me, I had an African American male teacher named Mr. Finley. After getting in a fight one day, he pulled me up to his office and asked me to read his portfolio. Now, Mr. Finley was an All American basketball player, was a hooper. Actually went on to go down to college, and I was reading all these newspaper clippings of how great he was on the court. Freshman year, man, he was doing his thing. His dream was going into the NBA. Second year, sophomore year, gets hurt, blows out his knee. And I said, Mr. Finley, I said, what happened, man? There's no more other stories about you. And he told me right then, he says, you know what, Andre? When I got hurt, I realized I had to do something more. I knew then I needed to become a teacher to teach little black boys like you that you can grow up and do something other than play with a ball. Because now you have a high affinity for math, so I want you to become an engineer and go to MIT. Now, at the time, I didn't know what an engineer was, nor did I understand why he wanted me to go to a MIT. Didn't have any comprehension of what that was. But he planted the seed by having me read a book that was personal and was relatable. So when I got to do the things that I was doing and I saw my pathway opening up, me becoming an astronaut engineer, me becoming a pilot, I always resonated back to the beginning. Where did I get that motivation? It became because of some individual who gave me a book that was personable, something that I could relate to that inspired me. So in my company of literary engineers, I'm duplicating that experience for other individuals to go out and share their life experiences through the use of my book as a tool to allow them to express what they do. For example, we have a book about financial literacy. That book was written for individuals that are in the financial world that have a fiduciary responsibility to our community, to have them go share that story about investments right now to our third to fifth graders so they can go plant the seed about how to become financial responsibility now and also educate their parents on things that they may not even comprehend or know at the time. So the system, what I've done, Marcus, is to give tools so people have a good heart that want to make a difference in our community, but may not have the avenue or the vehicle to make that happen and be relatable to kids. Well, I've created it for them. So that's what organizations ask me to do. They ask me to create a book that allows their members, employees, or whatever it may be to go into a school system to deal with maybe an after school program, to go to like a boys and girls club, go to a charter school, like even some of those that are in homeschool, to educate them on some of the issues that we're talking about.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, what I love about this is the stories that Andre is sharing. It makes you think about, it makes me think about anyway, things from my life about, one of my teachers, Mrs. Jones, who was my sixth grade teacher, and my principal, Miss Braddock, who was actually my grandmother's best friend. So all of my teachers knew my grandmother because my grandmother was also a teacher in the school system in the Washington, D.C. area. And she retired, but a lot of her friends ended up being my teacher and my brother's teacher in elementary school. And what's interesting is our teachers always pushed us to be more than just athletes. Now, luckily, my brother and I both became professional athletes, but neither one of us had a type of catastrophic injury that took us out. I broke my femur in high school between my junior and between my sophomore and junior year. I recovered. I was able to continue to play at a high level, but I got very, very lucky. Right. But again, when I went to college, right, Andre, I was not going to be an NFL athlete. I went to college to get an education and be a financial planner and go work on Wall Street. That was my dream. I just got very lucky that I got really, really good at football in that time. I grew, I developed, and the Jaguars and the NFL said, "Yep, you can play this game. Come on down." And I had a 6 year career. But I tell young people, you have a better chance of being hit by lightning than being a professional athlete. So play the odds. If you can do that, I'm happy as all can be for you. But the odds aren't in your favor. So education is going to be your number one ticket. Andre, talk about share some stories of how you try to enlighten the youth with your speaking or with your workshops about how, again, education is the number one ticket to the dreams or to the destination that you seek.
Marcus, you just had me reflect on. I did a presentation down in Louisiana, and one of the common questions I ask children when I'm speaking, what do you want to do when you grow up? And we're just going to get real for a second. Predominantly, my African American young boys typically fall in like three categories: athletics, entertainment, and then some of them, let's talk maybe in the military or something like that. And what I come to realize, Marcus, is that they're only talking about what they see. We promote entertainment on social media. We promote athletics. We give credence to those professions. You can turn on the TV right now, and every kid can probably tell you who's the best NFL, NBA player, and so forth, and baseball player, because that's what they're showered with, constantly being seen with. So it's not uncommon to understand why they want to be that because that's what we promote. My program and what our books do is allow entities and individuals that are amazing in our community to be seen by our kids. Financial advisors, angel investors, engineers, doctors, lawyers, data scientists, welders, and I can go vocational, you know, entrepreneurs. There's a plethora of things out there that our children can do, but they don't get exposed to it. So by having our books and having people that represent those particular fields to go in and show to our kids, is absolutely amazing. This psychologist that I met put me on game. They told me this. He says, Andre, I love the way you speak to high school students, but it's almost too late. They've already formed their abilities to what they're going to do, their mindset. He says, if you want to be someone as a change agent, you have to get to the kids prior to age 12. Because after the age 12, it takes a significant emotional event to modify one's behavior. He says you're able to plant that seed earlier to give a child something to look for and be guided. They have a higher probability that that will become part of who they are. And I'm a living example of that by Mr. Finley telling me I become an engineer in sixth grade. That stuck with me to become an astronautical engineer when I went to the Air Force Academy. So I know the power. This is not Scholastics. This is not Penguin. I'm not trying to get you out here to read green eggs and ham. What my books are doing is showing kids there's a possibility of a brighter future. I'm educating them, empowering them, and encouraging them that they can make their dreams come true. And we're going to give those skill sets, not just to the kids, but also enable their parents to see a pathway. Because when our books, we illustrate the behavior that we want you to duplicate in real life. That's the power of our books. I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to educate and to encourage and empower.
You know what's so awesome, Andre? The fact you talk about, your teacher giving you that inspiration, that guidance, that light. One of my favorite quotes by Aristotle: in times of extreme darkness, focus on the light. Huge, in my opinion. Okay. Another great quote by General Dwight D. Eisenhower: the plan was useless, the planning was indispensable. And so I tell people all the time, you have to be willing to pivot, make adjustments, right? Even if you do become a professional football player, basketball player, that's awesome. But what after? What's next? Unless you die playing professional sport, I hope that happens to nobody. I hope no one that happens to. When you retire, you will be an ex-athlete. What next? Right? And so you talk about what you did. So our father was the first African American bank manager for his company in their DC office in 1978. He went to Howard. He got his degree in economics from Howard. He got his master's from University of Maryland, right? And my dad played football at Howard, but my dad had a knee injury his last year at Howard. Blew his knee out. There was no anything. But our dad always knew that education was going to get him further than football. So he always worked hard. And he got his master's. And like I said, first African American bank manager of his unit, the Federal Home Loans Bank of New York, in their DC office in 1978, which is exactly why I wanted to be a financial planner since birth, because I saw my father doing it all the time. I saw him serving, leading, educating. And my dad's been gone since 2006, but people still, he had over 1,000 people at his funeral. People still email me or text me, Marques, your dad was my hero. Your dad, I have a woman named Tawanda Bogle. She's African American. Said, Marques, your dad gave me my first opportunity in the early 80s as an African American female. He believed in me when most didn't. And your dad will always be my hero. So, what Andre's doing, what his books are doing, they are giving you not just hope, it's a blueprint. It's something to model, look at, and take and model for yourself for the best version of yourself. You owe it to yourself to give yourself the best. That's what Andre's books are doing. Andre, phenomenal interview. How can people support you, buy your books and get them in the hands of the youth to make a difference, to inspire our youngsters for a better tomorrow.
Our website is literaryengineers.com. And my email is a lewis, Lewis, at literaryengineers.com. Reach out to us and help us help you in your community. And as my last share, one of the things one of my mentors from church gave me, he says, Andre, when you have children, don't tell them what to do. Show them through your actions. And I'm truly blessed to say that, I have one daughter who's about to go down to medical school at UC San Diego. I have another daughter who graduated with anthropology, who's a physical therapist aide. And my youngest daughter just finished her first year at law school at UC Davis. And the reason why I share that is because my children were very fortunate to have both a mother and a father who understood education and the value thereof and gave them opportunities. Well, my life would not be satisfying if I didn't try to reach out to help other kids recognize the potential that they have and to help their parents see the values of those children, to see the potential that they have. My children are not special. They're ordinary kids like so many others. And if we only took the time to reach back and help that next generation, look how many more successful, highly confident, and truly living their purpose people we can help.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. Fantastic interview. We want to thank NeuroGuard Plus, Dr. Michael Hutchison, for sponsoring this episode. And the authentic tip of this great interview, if you're a parent, please give your kids something they can see, that they can visualize, that they can want to be like, that they want to follow, that's not sports driven. Our parents, our father, never pushed sports on his 6'9" in the eighth grade, 375-pound son, or his 6'3" left high school, became 6'6" son. We did it on our own. Our father modeled for us financial planning, money management, investments, how to be smart, how to be savvy. That's how our dad could send my brother to St. Albans High School in the late 80s at $25,000 a year in the late 80s, and then sent me to St. John's at $7,000 a year in the late 90s, because he knew that education was the key to our success. Big time. He invested in his sons. He died poor because he lost his job. He got hurt, but he got health issues. But when me and my brother made it, we took care of our dad. But our dad invested in us, and it gave him the best return he could ever imagine. Both your sons are athletic, they're education driven, and they're good human beings. And the order was good human beings that are educated, that are athletes. That's what our father did. So model something for your children that they can be for the long haul, because sports is a short-term thing. Again, my name is Marques Ogden. I am the host of the Get Authentic with Marques show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day.